right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you'll join me in a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Neighbors? Here. Young?
Here.
Dilling?
Here.
Beamsterboer?
Here.
Adamski?
Here.
Doyle?
Here.
Adrianson?
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda is a public hearing for Conservation Foundation. Jennifer Hammer, if you'd like to come up and do your presentation for us.
It is on. Okay, great. Thank you for the time here to come and talk about this project. I'm going to show a map, but talking about the portion of Manhattan Creek that runs right through town here. But a little bit quickly about our organization, the Conservation Foundation. We've been around for a little over 50 years now. Our goal really is to work with communities to help preserve and restore natural and open spaces, protect rivers and streams, and really promote the stewardship of our environment kind of through all ages. We work a lot with children, with adults, with industry, with communities. And so that has been the underpinning of our work for the last 50 years. We mostly work in DuPage, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We're based out of Naperville on the Will County side, but we also do some limited activities within LaSalle and Grundy, Cook, and DeKalb counties. Kind of again, based off that mission, a lot of our work and what we're known for is land preservation. We've been doing that kind of work with conservation easements, fee simple purchases, working with forest preserves, park districts, communities to help them preserve land. A lot of my work has been on the rivers and streams portion of things. We do a lot of community education and outreach, and then we also operate a 60-acre organic farm in Naperville. The land piece, we have worked to help pass open space referenda, to purchase properties on behalf of communities and park districts and forest preserve districts, work with private landowners to help them preserve their legacy of land. And of those 45 conservation easements, one of the easements is this property here in Manhattan along Manhattan Creek. Again, from that watershed perspective, Manhattan is within that light kind of greenish color and is a part of the Lower Des Plaines watershed work group, watershed group. I've worked with John, actually I just finally got to meet John Tyke here in person, but been working with Manhattan and the wastewater treatment plant for many years through that program. Again, the land preservation part being a big part of what we do at the Conservation Foundation, and here's kind of the reasons why. And it really comes back down to quality of life for people. So while we're out there preserving and protecting spaces for wildlife habitat and keeping water clean and keeping air clean, all of those things in the end benefit our communities and the quality of life that we want to preserve for our current residents, but also that responsibility for future generations. So kind of jumping into the project at hand, just a little bit of background. So the conservation easement was put in place back in 2009. There was a handout that I supplied for the packet that gives a little bit more information about conservation easements in general. But this easement was required as part of the development for the Brookstone Spring subdivision, kind of on the east side or the right side of that picture. It was, part of getting the permit for that development to occur. As part of that development process, Centex Homes was a builder, paid for all the restoration work and daylighting of that stream, because for those who've been in the community for a while know that that stream was actually in a pipe underground behind the subdivision that's on the left side, and that tile system had been failing. I mean, out in that grassy field, there were holes that if you walk through the field, you could definitely drop a leg into. And as part of this development process, the pipes were removed and now there was an open stream corridor. It also definitely helped improve some of the flooding issues that some of the residents had on that west side of the stream. So it was a big investment that was made through that development process for amenities here in the village. As I mentioned, the conservation holds the easement, so we're responsible for making sure the easement restrictions are held in place, and a lot of that has to do with, not any building happening within that space or people dumping or damaging that space, but also to help guide management and restoration activities. So we have worked with the village through the years, helping to review RFPs for ecological management and guide that process. So management has been kind of on and off through the years, and we would really like to work with the village to get management kind of back on track for that site. And one of the things we were able to do was to apply for a grant through Earthrise Energy. They're a local peaker. They operate a local peaker plant, and they have a funding program that does a lot of education and conservation work is what that RISE grant program is supposed to help support. And they were very interested. They had come to us, looking for projects within the Manhattan area, and felt this was a great project to help kind of get things back on track, to do some planning, and kind of lay that groundwork for going forward. So we successfully applied for that grant, and they said this was actually the first conservation project that they're funding that locally here through that program, so they were very excited to see this kind of get kicked off. So the idea is to look at kind of restoring those ecological functions back on the site. There's a lot of invasive vegetation that has moved in with lack of management, and so trying to get that addressed, putting in a plan for long-term management, and then overall making the site more useful and accessible for residents. So it really is an amenity for residents here within Manhattan. And the whole idea of healthy natural areas really are a part of healthy communities. And there's a lot of research and work out there, and a lot of the work that we do, getting people outside, but spending time out in natural spaces is good for not only our physical health, but our mental health as well. And so having these spaces that are close and easy for people to get to is a really important part of healthy communities. So with the grant, we're working with Upland Design firm to kind of assist with some vision planning and public engagement, looking for ways that we can, provide some additional amenities to residents. How do we, fit this into bigger plans that the village may have across the board, tying into, I know I was looking at your new downtown master plan, to being able to maybe tie into some of those pieces, and so the folks at Upland are going to help us do that, as well as engage with the board and staff and residents as we work on some concept plans. And then working with V3 Consultants, actually they were a part of, they were hired by Centex originally to do the daylighting of the stream and all the initial restoration work that was done, so they're very familiar with the site and what sort of the original plans were, and so we're going to be working with them to really get a good idea of what the current ecological condition is of the site, look at how we can prioritize restoration needs and be able to phase things in, and then, I know one of the issues that's been a long-term issue out there is the beavers out on site. There's been a lot of work across the region of looking at, how do we maybe live with beavers and plan for that as part of the restoration, and look at, instead of it's a constant fight out there for staff to keep water flowing. But there's some really cool innovations with some piping systems to be able to let beavers do their thing, but let water continue to flow, so that we're, managing that space for not impacting the homes around it as far as flood conditions and things like that. So, we're going to kind of investigate that a little bit further and see if that might be a part of, some of the options going forward. So kind of quickly here, some of the next steps. We have an on-site visit planned next week with staff, as well as some folks from V3 and from Upland Design to just make sure that everybody's on the same page, that we're putting things into a concept plan that makes sense for what the village would like to see, and keeping things definitely from an affordability standpoint. Also, making sure that it fits within the restrictions of the conservation easement itself. And so just making sure we're, like I said, all on the same page for that. So we're gonna, we've had some initial discussions over Zoom, but now to be able to get out on site and really walk around and make sure we're all on the same page for that. And again, understanding and making any connections to larger planning things that are going on here within the village. And then we'll all go back to work on drafting a concept plan that we'll be able to come back to you. I think we were talking about maybe a mid-September meeting, kind of figure out when the right time to get on an agenda, but to bring it back and get input from the board. And also we're looking at what the best ways of getting input from residents as well, as whether that's a survey or doing like an open house with a concept plan. So those are things we'll work out with staff. And look how we can make sure we're getting input from folks, and then be able to come back with a kind of final plan. Our goal is late October, early November, in that we want to be ready to wrap this grant up so that we can go back to Earthrise and potentially apply for some funds that could help the village kind of match some funds from the village to get a project started. And their timeline, I believe, for that next grant cycle is in December. So that's kind of why I want to make sure we're all wrapped up with our current grant so we can go ahead and apply for another grant. And that was the feedback we were getting from Earthrise is, they would definitely like to see how they can continue to assist with this project into the future. So that was it. I wanted to keep it short and sweet for y'all. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Like I said, we're kind of at the early stages of the planning for this. So I don't know, I'll just put it out there for questions.
I know we have V3 was supposed to come out last fall, and do a control burnout there. That got delayed. There's still on the spring, and that got delayed. So they're telling us that now, this fall, they're supposed to be out to take care of that.
Yeah. Yeah, weather is a challenge with burning. I know we work with them on a couple of other projects and kind of have our priorities of when the wind direction is right, where can they go and burn. And so, yeah, I know I've talked with Keith Jones is at least working with the folks who who I don't know if you've been working with Keith or some of his staff. Keith, yeah. But Keith is the one who's working on this project with us. Like I said, he's very familiar with the site.
I'm sure it'd be good to have the beavers taken care of so they don't block it every day.
Right, so every day we do have one of our guys go out there, and they work from midnight to 8, those guys.
Yeah.
So every morning, our guy has to go back.
They're busy beavers.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I went actually up to, so early July, I went up to visit a couple sites up in McHenry County where they've been working with folks from the Illinois Beaver Alliance to put in some beaver bypass projects on some sites. So kind of wanted to see how that looked. There's actually a conference coming up, and I can send a link to staff. The Midwest Beaver Alliance is doing a virtual webinar the last week of August. I can get the dates and the links. It's a free virtual workshop, but they have a lot of information about different projects that are going on. And so I've been trying to learn more about it because it's obviously, we either fight them constantly every day or, if there's a way that we can figure it out. And most sites in urban areas are just really challenging. But this site has a lot of space. And as far as kind of connection to floodplain and all of that, and it could be a good candidate for at least exploring it and seeing if it might be something that would fit for the project and help alleviate. Because if we don't have to put that constant, your guys out there doing that maintenance every day, can that, those resources be shifted elsewhere in management for the project?
Anyone else?
All right, great.
Thank you.
Yep. We back to see you sometime, hopefully in September. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment. We have Maureen Bennett.
Hi, I'm Maureen Bennett, and I really thought there was a public hearing on this cargo ordinance that you're going to be talking, either approving or disapproving. I did go to the planning board meeting, and I didn't feel I got much of anything out of it to understand how you're changing this ordinance. Some of the things that I was questioning is, when you change this, are you going to have a size limit that a person can, minimum and maximum? And can a business only request one cargo thing to camouflage? And and what about any homeowners that have businesses out of their homes? Could they go and request a cargo to be on their property and camouflage it and put their inventory in there? These were things I was going to ask you, but I can't ask you because you don't have a public hearing going. But I wondered if this was in this, any of this was considered in the change. You know, it's like, and then there was one remark, you made it sound like if Mr. Bacon doesn't renew his contract in 3 years, that you would have to get rid of it, the cargo thing. Well, I would think if you approve a cargo container to any business and they no longer need it, it would be their expense and a responsibility to do away with that. But I don't know if any of this is in this change that you're making with the ordinance. I think it's kind of funny that I think back, I know it was a completely different board except maybe Dave, where they passed an ordinance that new homes and businesses had to be 75% brick because they didn't like, they wanted to get a better look than just aluminum siding. And here we are now passing an ordinance to camouflage a cargo container. I'm saying, I'm not against it because his picture looks like it would be good, but I think you need to make sure you have this ordinance where it's not taken advantage by somebody else. Because if you wanted 75% brick on homes and businesses, I don't think the cargo camouflage is going to be brick, or maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, hopefully you make the right decision and you've thought about some of these different things. And I'm not really against him getting it because I'd like to see him get open. But don't open the can of worms and be sorry that you did it, because other people could take advantage of it, and then you didn't cover all these little loopholes to stop them from misusing that ordinance. Okay?
Thank you. All right. So next item on the agenda is a consent agenda. It consists of July 16th, 2024 Village Board meeting minutes, approval of August 6th, 2024 bills list, and a resolution authorizing the use of Route 52 and Manhattan-Moni Road for Monday, September 2nd, 2024 for the Labor Day Parade. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda unless anyone would like anything removed for further discussion.
Motion.
Roll call?
Neighbors. Yes. Young.
Yes.
Dilling. Beamsterboer.
Yes.
Adamski.
Yes.
Doyle.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. First item under new business is what Maureen was just speaking about. So it's ordinance amending Title IV zoning regulations of the Village of Manhattan. So this ordinance amends, the amendment will allow the village to review applications for cargo containers on a case-by-case basis. So I don't know if you want to speak a little more to that, but you can't apply for a special use permit for a residential, right? It's got to be in a commercial.
Yeah, this only applies to the C2 and C3 commercial districts. So a residential home would not be allowed to have a cargo container, even if they wanted to apply for one. A C1 would not allow to have a cargo container either. And like the mayor said, it's a case-by-case basis. So if someone wanted to do it, they would have to apply for a public hearing at the Planning Commission, go through the plan commission process, and then come to the village board. At that time, the village board could put any type of conditions you feel is necessary for that, screening, things of that nature. So that's why we created a special use rather than just a permitted use where they could come in for a simple building permit.
Yeah, and it runs with the length of the lease as well, so, to your point, if someone were to leave, they would have to take it with them. Now, for example, if some people just vacate the premises, you know.
At that point, we would institute the code enforcement process,
Yeah.
because then it would be an illegal container, and then we would go that route through either voluntary compliance or adjudication.
I got a question. If I have one in the back of my garage at this point in time, before this ordinance is passed,
It's
it's residential,
It's currently illegal now.
it's currently legal?
Illegal.
Currently illegal.
Illegal, okay.
So if there's one in an existing residential area, just let me know about it, and we will take a look at it.
Okay.
Does this affect anybody who has to order a pods?
The pod is a separate ordinance. We do allow pods for up to a certain period of time for people who are moving. If they leave them there for a length of time, then again, it's a code violation.
So, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve an ordinance amending Title IV zoning regulations of the Village of Manhattan zoning code.
Motion.
Second?
Roll call?
Young,
Yes.
Dilling,
Yes.
Beamsterboer,
Yes.
Adamski,
Yes.
Doyle,
Yes.
Neighbors.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next item is an ordinance granting a special use permit for a cargo container as an accessory building for storage purposes for certain property located within the corporate boundaries of the Village of Manhattan, Will County, Illinois. This ordinance will allow the cargo container to be used at 195 South State Street for Arrowhead Smoke Works. So, any other questions about this? I would like to entertain a motion to approve an ordinance granting the special use permit for a cargo container as an accessory building for storage purposes for certain property located within the corporate boundaries of the Village of Manhattan, Will County, Illinois.
Motion.
Second?
Roll call?
Discussion?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank our Administrator Jeff, our attorney, and Mr. Bacon for understanding and taking care of my concerns on this issue. Let me be clear what a couple of those were. One, at the time when it was presented to us at the prior meeting, it was not allowed under the ordinance. It would have been an illegal act for us to let him put that container there unless we change the ordinance. So now we have changed the ordinance with this last one, and it's now a legal thing. Also, I really appreciate the way you painted it. It looks really nice. I'm for this business to be open. I really want it to be open. I had one other concern, which is going to be addressed on the next agenda item. And just so people understand, that original meeting, 2 meetings ago, when this was brought up, that property that the container was going on was not included in the lease, and therefore all liability, if anything were to happen to somebody or something, was on the Village of Manhattan, not on the person who owned the container and put it there. They have now worked that all out with the attorneys in the village and Mr. Bacon, and I am satisfied with what they have come up with, and I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you did to address my concerns, and I just wanted the public to know what my concerns were, because everyone here wants your business to open. We all want businesses to come to town, but we can't just keep acting on things and worry about consequences later. We have to sit here, go through all the specifics, and look at the worst-case scenario and hope it doesn't happen. And once we know that we've got past that point, then we could vote as a board and pass it. So we are at that point now, and I am okay with this container and with the restaurants. Just wanted to make that clear.
I just got one question. Did permit go for, let's say, a temporary one put there too? Did they have a permit for that? Let's say they just want a temporary,
If someone
that's
wants to
6 months or so. And
they'd have to still do the same thing,
Okay.
but it would have to be in
Yeah, I
certain
just wanted-
districts for zoning.
Okay.
Thanks, yeah, and that's, the whole reason we brought it last time was just for a discussion topic. The original discussion was just to give him some direction, because it kind of came up unexpectedly, so it's good to always work everything out. So any other discussion on this?
I just want to say thanks to Mike for working with us, and thanks Trustee Weemsterboer for your comments. It's good to have debate, and I think we're going to come to a good conclusion here, but it's everyone's opinion matters, and Mike, really hope you guys do well, and we really appreciate you working with us.
So entertain a motion. I don't know if someone
We
already
got a
motioned.
motion and a second.
Okay, so roll call?
Dilling.
Yes.
Beamsterboer.
Yes.
Adamski.
Yes.
Doyle.
Yes.
Neighbors.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda pertains to the same thing that we just talked about, is a resolution approving a lease addendum between the Village of Manhattan and Arrowhead Smokeworks. This lease addendum adds the cargo container and space between cargo container and the building at 195 South State to the lease.
Motion.
Second.
Anyone have any other questions about that?
I just have one question. Just, I guess, I'm sure it's gonna be done, whatever, but, part of the paperwork for the insurance, is that gonna cover this new area? Will have to make any changes
Yeah.
on the insurance, or that automatically gets covered?
Yeah, that's part of the.
Part of the, gotcha, perfect.
All right, so a motion and a second, so roll call?
Beamsterboer.
Yes.
Adamski.
Yes.
Doyle.
Yes.
Neighbors.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Dilling.
Yes.
Mayor?
Okay, motion
Mike?
carries. Sorry.
Oh,
No, I just want to say that before I forget.
Mike, I don't know if I don't put you on the spot, any update on when you might be getting close, or?
Just like I said last month, maybe in about a month. We're painted inside, the floors are going in, it's kind of one thing at a time. We got one guy working in there going as fast as he can. He gets done what he can get done. What I'm gonna make sure I do is I do it right. So we're not rushing anything. I would say optimistically, 4 weeks, maybe 4 to 6.
Great. Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is just a resolution approving a travel per diem policy. We currently had a policy in place. This policy formalizes our current practice of providing a travel per diem to elected officials and staff traveling on behalf of the village. It is $75 per diem. I believe, Glenn, that changes if it's a different city though, right?
Yeah, you can.
So it depends on, but it would just essentially be, that would be the per diem. It would no need to hand in a bunch of receipts or anything. It's probably hard to eat on $75 anyway a day anymore, so. So any questions on that? Entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving the travel per diem policy.
Motion.
Second?
Roll call?
Adamski.
Yes.
Doyle.
Yes.
Neighbors.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Dilling.
Yes.
Beamsterboer.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is authorization to hire a full-time public works laborer. Brian Freebill comes to the Village of Manhattan with a wide variety of experience, including troubleshooting, carpentry, electrical, and plumbing. He's also served in the U.S. Air Force from 2001 to 2007. Looks like he's going to be starting at $31.15 an hour, and it's part of the CBA, isn't it? Yeah. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the authorization to hire Brian Freebill as as full-time public works laborer at a rate of $31.15 an hour.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Doyle.
Yes.
Neighbors.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Dilling.
Yep.
Beamsterboer.
Yes.
Adamski.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is a discussion. I received a request from the Manhattan School District. I could just read this paragraph that they requested. On behalf of the Manhattan School District and Board of Education, we are asking for support of a four-way stop sign at the intersection of Foxford Drive and Smith Road. The safety of residents and students will benefit from this added safety measure. The new Manhattan Junior High School will serve over 600 students, and the traffic flow will see a huge increase. Furthermore, Manhattan Intermediate will serve approximately 400 students. Therefore, Smith Road will see a large traffic volume increase. So the school district is, requesting a stop sign at that intersection due to the added traffic of the second school, and not just for during the school days, but also there's going to be a lot of sports and extracurricular activities at that location for students to safely cross. They feel like it's they're requesting a four-way stop at that intersection, so I just thought I'd bring it to the board and say what you guys would like to see there.
Where's this at?
Would the-
Foxford and Smith, sorry.
Would the fourth stop sign be on their property in the drive? Is that where the fourth?
There's
stop-
already one there, I think. So you just need, well,
Right, it's a three-way
Oh, it's not
stop
there? It-
currently.
Still a two-way.
yeah, that'll be on their,
Well,
their
actually, it's a
entrance.
three-way intersection, but is the entrance to the school right through there?
Yeah.
So that should make it the four-way?
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, we have the right to do it, I believe. I don't think we need anything, maybe, do we need a resolution for that? An ordinance, okay. So, we would have to do it at the next meeting, but I just want to make sure if everyone's good with that, or they are against it, or what their thoughts are.
Let's slow traffic down by the school. I
Slow
support it.
down. You need to get them on Foxford,
The two.
get some patrols on Foxford when school opens, because we can't get out of our driveways now, but the stop sign may help. Maybe. May also create a start-finish line.
All right, so we'll bring it to the next meeting, an ordinance to place
That's
a
a good
stop
idea.
sign. And John, you can just install it yourselves, right? So, easy. All right.
Done.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to bring up one thing about early voting. With different union negotiations and things like that, we were originally not going to have early voting at the Village Hall this year, but after talking with the township, Jim Walsh, the supervisor, and we started talking about it, we thought it'd be great if we could offer it to residents and township residents as well. So we're kind of pitching in together as the village and the township to provide early voting in the boardroom here. I think it's only 2 weeks, so it's not a real long time. And that way it doesn't interrupt staff from doing their day-to-day work at the village, because there's probably gonna be a lot of people with a presidential election. So that's, I just wanted to let you guys know it's in the works. I don't know how it's all gonna pan out yet, but it was his wish to have township residents and village residents for early voting, so.
Mike, is the township going to send some help?
Yeah, so far, they're reaching out to some of the people that they work with, and if they can get a couple of individuals, and maybe we could share the cost. It should be minimal. I think it's a per day thing. I don't know if it's $100 a day. I think there's, or is that for election judge, or is what we have to pay them? I don't know that yet.
No, that wouldn't be an election, Judge. That's regular staff that does it.
Yeah. So hopefully someone that's retired that, you know.
The county pays us $150 for the
Okay.
whole 2 weeks
Oh,
of
wow,
early voting.
that's big money.
Yeah.
Per person or?
So-
And this is a presidential election. I would
Yeah.
recommend that there's at least 3 people taking voters
Okay.
during that time.
All right. So we're still working out the details on that. I mean, once he finds a couple people that are willing to do it, then I can just keep everyone informed of what they come up with. The other thing is we've been getting seems like a lot of interest in Will County in general for solar farms. Talked to Will County Land Use, and they have 70 applications already this year. We've been getting emails left and right, people asking us about solar farms coming all over the place. So I thought it'd be maybe a good idea if Mark can put together a map of where we would be okay with them, because there's certain areas that it's not really, it's out by the peaker plant or, out by the substation that really doesn't bother us. Maybe the west side of Cherry Hill Road. So if we come up with that map, maybe get an agreement with, just verbally with the township, and then present it to the county and let them know that we're gonna object on certain areas and maybe okay with certain areas. So just a thought. So I'll see if Mark can send you guys a map and we can kind of discuss it. But it seems like it's coming all of a sudden. I don't know why, but we're getting a lot of them, so. That's all I got. Lucy? Justin?
I'm good, thank you.
Bob?
I got nothing.
Dave?
Just want to thank Mike Bacon again, and Jeff Wold and Jeff Taylor. That was very good helping me out with this issue.
All right. Ron?
Nothing for me.
Tommy?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Thanks. Shelley?
I don't have anything, but I heard the blood drive went really well. We had a goal of 28, and I think we yielded 24. So we were just a little bit short again, but they were very appreciative of the 24 that they got, because I think out of those 24, there was 8 double red donations, and those are usually pretty hard to come by, so.
Oh, wow.
So thanks to everybody that came out for that.
Thanks. Jeff?
On our last board meeting, we hired 2 employees, Jessica and Tracy. They started on Monday, they had their onboarding, gave them tours of the facility, introduced them to all the staff members that were on duty. And today, they're jumped right into the BSNA training now. They'll have that for the next 2 weeks. And we also hired a temporary part-time employee, Briar Zimmerman. And tomorrow's Briar's last day. She worked about 15 hours a week, in addition to helping out, making copies for the audit. She worked in the permitting department, finance, police department, and helped me out on a couple projects. And then the last issue I just wanted to mention was Travelers Risk Management. They were out, they conducted an audit. I'm working with all the department heads on some minor recommendations that they made for us. So we're gonna work that through our safety committee to give them something to do and hopefully appease travelers.
All right, thanks. John?
The only thing I really have is, we reached out to comment today. We've been waiting for the streetlights on Smith Road to be turned on and got nowhere with it with the developer. So we reached out to them today and requested that they come out and energize them, because that's the only thing that's left on the poles to be done.
But did the developer ever call ComEd yet?
He never called them, so.
So can we call?
We did.
Okay.
And we put a ticket in, so hopefully,
A few days?
hopefully we can get these turned on then, yeah.
All right. Thanks. Mark?
Just to go off of what John said, we're trying to finish the other items in Stonegate. They did seed and blanket the park. There's just some minor issues out there, silt fence needing to come down, so that hopefully that'll be taken care of once those lights get done too. And then in addition to that, we're going to be meeting with Farnsworth Group next week to discuss initial scope for the downtown design guidelines. So hopefully it was something about that soon.
All right. Thank you. Glenn?
I just want to say that the initial upload of our data into the new BSNA system went fairly well. There was a couple minor hiccups we're working through. Training is, we're in our second day of training today. We just completed that, and I think that's going fairly well. And I hope it continues. I love the system. It's awesome.
All right, thanks. Chief?
Not much, just we're going to transfer one of our vehicles out of service and hand it over to EMA, Chief Doyle. We have the Cops and Bobbers tournament at the Park District property. They're letting us use their property on August 31st from 9 to 11. Currently we have about 39 registered children so far. It's going to be a great event, a lot of prizes, so it could be found on our Facebook or the village website. And then we are going to do a nighttime glow ride, bike with an officer, on September 13th from 7 to 9 p.m. Going to kind of see how that works out, but also I found on the village website and on our Facebook as well. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Terry?
Thanks to all you and Chief here for the used new vehicle. I believe we'll be getting rid of a 01 Crown Vic, an antique. So,
Gonna miss that.
thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. You got anything? All right. All right, so that's it for the meeting. We are going to go into executive session. There'll be no action after executive session, but I just want to let everybody know that. You're welcome to stay around if you want. So entertain a motion to enter executive session for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, appointed or elected officials, and collective bargaining, also for purposes of external audit review in accordance with 5 ILCS 120-2, Section 29.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Neighbors,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Dilling.
Yes.
Beamsterboer.
Yes.
Adamski.
Yes.
Doyle.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Be back in a little bit. Reopen regular session.
Second?
Roll call.
Beamsterboer?
Yes?
Adamski?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
Neighbors? Yes. Young?
Yes.
Dilling?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. No more action, so motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.